to other Southeast Asian countries, how does Thailand do these days in terms of competitiveness?
I think Thailand is under its level of natural competitiveness. You should be performing much better than this 27th position where you are on the IMD World Competitiveness Yearbook. I think the potential is great. You have a large domestic market, which is not the case of most of the Asian nations. You have a long tradition of infrastructure in terms of logistic, technology, etc. You are manufacturing, you are attracting foreign direct investment. So I think you have a brand. Thailand as a brand is really remarkable. One of the things where, and I have to be careful, where you have to be perhaps also quite suspicious, is not to overemphasize tourism. Tourism is very good. Tourism attracts a lot of currency, create jobs, but tourism could also distract from the attention of creating the competitiveness of Thailand in terms of new enterprise, technology, small and medium size. You know, all this which is making the success of a country. Actually, if you are looking at the future of Thailand, will be technology, will be brands, will be product made in Thailand, and not only tourism. We have started to discover that a lot of countries which have over-relied on tourism, like Greece, like Spain, like Portugal, actually were distracted from the other part of the economy, which is perhaps a bit more difficult to create, but which is far more efficient in terms of competitiveness in the future.
You mentioned Spain, Portugal, Greece. They all have problems right now.
Exactly.
Is Thailand heading to the same problem, debt problem?
How did they develop themselves? Tourism and real estate bubble. And with real estate bubble, financial crisis. I think they did not succeed to build a sound industry and manufacturing on the side. So the money you get out of tourism, which is good, I'm not criticizing that, should be reinvested quickly, not in tourism, but in something else. And I think this is one of the big issue in competitiveness. You know, when you look at a product, on the back there is written made in Thailand, made in Taiwan, made in China. This is not something which is innocent. This is a very important concept. You develop the brand of a country, you develop the competitiveness when you look at made in. And you have to ask yourself, what is made in Thailand?
I was just about to ask you, how crucial is branding today?
Branding is fundamental, but it has to be a branding which is differentiator from the rest of the world. So you have to ask yourself, actually Thailand stands for what? Thailand as a country has a great reputation, tourism, fine, but you have other countries which are touristic. So what do you stand for? Do you stand for excellence in manufacturing, excellence in added value logistics, which is one of the objectives? Are you going to develop your own technology, maybe your own brand in fashion business and whatever? But you have to ask yourself, actually, the Thai brand stand for what?
What would be your advice for Thailand? Because it seems that now we are trying to be good at everything, a little bit of everything.
Exactly. And I think, as I mentioned, you need the ingredients. You need to have the infrastructure, the education, all this you need, no doubt. But then you have, once you have all that, you need to find out also what is you, yourself, which is different from Singapore, from Taiwan and the rest. What is the differentiator of Thailand? And I think that you will find you have a good brand as a country abroad, but try to find out what makes you different. And I think the answer will be given, in my opinion, by the entrepreneurs, the small and medium-sized enterprise, all those guys who are going to come with a lot of ideas about how to sell Thai product. It's all about not only the country branding, it's also about the product and the service branding. And this is very important. I think this is the name of the game.
Should the Thai government actually give more support to SMEs?
Yes. Every government should believe that the SMEs are crucial for the development. I give you one way of doing it. Of course, you have the export guarantees. But for example, use your diplomatic service abroad to help the small and medium-sized enterprise when they go abroad. My country, Switzerland, we have tried to give every consulate as a mandate to help the small and medium-sized enterprise. Not the big one, the small. The big one, they don't need anybody when they go outside. They have all the contacts, they have all the access. But we try to have now economic consulates, which is helping the small and medium-sized enterprise when they go abroad to have the right contact, the right thing, so they can go and they ring the bell of the embassy or the consulate and they will find help. And I think this is a very simple thing, but this is very efficient. And I think this is one of the ways you can help the small and medium-sized enterprise. After the war, Germany created export schools for the small and medium-sized enterprise. They took them and said, now we are going to teach you to export. And now Germany is one of the largest exporters in the world.
As a Swiss, are you happy when people think of Switzerland, they would think of chocolates and watches?
Well, yes, of course. But again, I say, well, okay, chocolate, watches, but what about the financial sector? Oh, yes, you are banking. Yes, UBS, Credit Suisse, and the private banks. And then I say, what about food? And say, yes, Nestle. What about pharmaceutical? Yes, Novartis. What about machine tool? Yes, Sulzer. And then you go all the line and you discover the extraordinary diversity, which is probably one of the secrets of the success of the country. I think we are not too bad almost everywhere except in the car industry. But we don't need to be good in the car industry because Thailand is good in the car industry.
But how do you nurture all of those traditions or all of those strengths that you have in each industry?
One of the things is that the technology is being taught at the university and polytechnical school, but then we try to link this technology with a small and medium-sized enterprise. So we have this kind of campus and we have this kind of organization where the younger enterprise can come, beneficiate from the technology which is being developed in the university or in the political school, or simply say, you know, I have a research in this domain, could you please help me and can I have access to your lab? Because the university can provide the machine, the research labs, etc. And I think this interaction between the academic world and also the small and medium-sized enterprise is important. A small enterprise cannot afford to make research on its own very often. They have a brilliant idea, but they need to cooperate with a university or with a political school. And that's what they do, and then they share the patent.
Europe and America, who is actually more inventive or more competitive?
In terms of the Europe or the US?
Yeah.
Oh, clearly the US. I think if you look at during the past 10 years, as I mentioned, all the products which have changed our life, all of them, social network, internet, research engine like Google, the human genome in biotechnology, everything has come from the US. Let's face it, there are very few innovations which have changed our life. There are innovations elsewhere. But the fundamental ones are coming from the US. There is an inventiveness, a dynamism in the US which is extraordinary. And as I mentioned in my presentation, surprisingly enough, most of them come from California, and California is bankrupt. So it's a very good indication of the problem of the US and Europe. The governments have a problem, but many times the companies are still okay.
Yeah, that's right. California is bankrupt,
yeah.
But the companies are doing really well.
And the companies are doing well. A company like Apple today has $72 billion in cash on its balance sheet. It's swimming with money, and Microsoft the same, and Cisco the same, and everybody. They're doing very well. We see it in our business school at IMD in Switzerland. Most of the company coming there say, you know, we are doing very well. We don't dare to say it too loud, but we are doing very well. The problem is, can you do it well alone? If everybody else around you is collapsing, the government is collapsing, and the problem when the government has problems is that the only way government knows to solve that problem is to increase taxation, which means it creates a problem for the companies.
European governments,
yeah.
What are some of the ways that they're trying to increase competitiveness?
Well, I think that some of them are trying to develop clusters, saying these are what we should do. Others are trying to say simply we need to have a better tax environment, so they try to lower taxes, but they cannot succeed because they need money now. I think one of the biggest things which happened in Europe recently has been to work on the ease of doing business. I think they realized that in many companies, doing business was too complex. Just to do something like creating a company, like patenting a new product, it's too complex, too many processes compared to other countries. And I think there is an awareness of those governments that they have to simplify things. For example, that a lot of things can be done on internet. You can ask for papers, administration, you can even ask for authorization by using internet and not going to an office. So I think they suddenly realize that the ease of doing business is essential. That's one of the good points.
There is no specific formula for success. Each country just have to address its own weaknesses and play on or develop on its strengths. Next week, we will take a look at the list of this year's 2011 annual report. สวัสดีค่ะ